Why does success often feel like a hollow victory? You have been told your entire life that the result is the only thing that matters. You are taught to visualize the finish line, to manifest the corner office, to obsess over the promotion, the payout, the accolade. But here you are, standing in the middle of your life, exhausted by the very goals you are desperate to achieve. You are suffering from a psychological paralysis that modern productivity gurus refuse to name. It is the suffocating weight of outcome thinking. You are trapped in a cage of your own making, measuring your worth by metrics that are entirely outside your control. In ancient Rome, a citizen did not measure his day by the accolades of the Senate or the vastness of his conquests. He measured it by the weight of his duty. The Roman mind operated on a system of two pillars that modern culture has completely forgotten. The first is Industria, the relentless commitment to purposeful action. The second is Constantia, the unshakable stability of the soul. These were not motivational quotes etched on a bathhouse wall. They were survival mechanisms. They were the difference between a general who held the line and a soldier who broke ranks. In the modern United States, we have inverted this wisdom. We obsess over the outcome and neglect the process. We chase the dopamine hit of the victory while despising the blood and sweat required to earn it. This inversion is the root cause of your anxiety. It is why you feel busy but not productive. It is why you feel drained before the day has even begun. Ignoring this ancient wisdom is not just a missed productivity hack. It is a catastrophic failure of philosophy. When you tie your identity to results that exist in the future, you surrender your present peace to a phantom. You hand the keys to your happiness over to luck, market forces, and the opinions of others. The cost is your vitality. The cost is your ability to look in the mirror and respect the person staring back. You become a gambler, not a craftsman. You become a victim of fortune rather than a master of fate. It does not have to be this way. There is a path back to sanity. It requires you to dismantle the modern altar of outcome and rebuild your mind on the foundation of Roman duty. You must learn to replace the volatile fuel of motivation with the structural integrity of scheduled obligation. This is not a lesson in trying harder. It is a lesson in thinking differently. Consider Michael Smith. Michael is a 38-year-old software engineer living in Seattle, Washington. By all modern metrics, he is a success. He has the salary, the title, and the view of the Space Needle from his apartment. But Michael is dying inside. He is paralyzed by the outcome. He cannot start a task unless he is certain of the result. He is trapped in a cycle of procrastination and panic, and he does not yet realize that his entire philosophy of life is the architect of his misery. Michael Smith wakes up at 6 a.m. to the sound of a carefully curated alarm tone designed to be soothing. It fails. His eyes snap open, and before his feet touch the cold hardwood floor of his bedroom, his mind has already raced to the finish line of the day. He does not think, "I will write code today." He thinks, "I need to finish the sprint ticket so my manager approves my performance review, so I get the bonus, so I can finally remodel the kitchen." The chain of outcomes is so long and heavy that it crushes the simple act of waking up. He walks to the kitchen, passing his home office. The door is closed, but the dread seeps through the wood. He brews his coffee, grinding the beans with an aggression he does not notice. While the coffee drips, he opens his phone. He checks Slack. He checks his email. He is looking for problems. He is looking for validation. He is looking for a signal that the outcome of his day is secure. There are no emergencies, yet his heart rate climbs. He scrolls through LinkedIn, seeing the fabricated outcomes of his peers. Promotions, product launches, celebrations. Every notification is a reminder that he is falling behind. The modern trap is not that he is lazy. The trap is that he is constantly measuring the distance between where he is and where he thinks he should be. By 8:30 a.m., Michael sits at his desk. The dual monitors glow with the harsh light of expectation. He pulls up the JIRA ticket assigned to him. It is a complex back-end refactor. The modern mind in him immediately seeks the reward. He wants the ticket moved to the done column. He wants the dopamine. He wants the outcome. But the task is difficult. It requires sustained focus. It requires stepping into the unknown, because the outcome is not guaranteed, because he might fail or look incompetent. Michael freezes. He opens a new tab. He checks the news. He refills his coffee. He engages in productive procrastination, organizing his calendar, answering low-priority emails, anything to avoid the uncertainty of the work. This cycle defines his existence. It is a loop of hope, negotiation, and collapse. He hopes that this week will be different. He negotiates with himself, promising to work late if he just takes a break now. And then, inevitably, he collapses into the couch at 8 p.m., exhausted from doing almost nothing of true value. He tries to fix this with modern solutions. He downloads productivity apps that gamify his life, turning his obligations into a quest for points. He experiments with nootropics and caffeine supplements, chemical crutches designed to force a mind that has lost its way. He attends webinars on deep work and atomic habits, but none of it works. The apps become another source of anxiety. The caffeine only sharpens the edge of his panic. The advice goes in one ear and out the other, because it does not address the core malfunction. The inciting incident occurs on a Tuesday in November. It is a gray, rainy afternoon in Seattle. Michael is in a sprint review meeting. His team lead asks for a status update on the refactor. Michael has nothing to show. He spent 3 days staring at the code, paralyzed by the fear of breaking the production server, paralyzed by the fear of a negative outcome. He mutters an excuse about scope creep. The team lead nods, but the disappointment is palpable. The silence on the Zoom call is deafening. Michael logs off, closes his laptop, and stares out the window at the rain. He feels a profound hollowness in his chest. He realizes that despite his salary and his title, he is ineffective. He is a spectator in his own career. The modern tools have failed him. The motivation has evaporated. He is left with the terrifying realization that the problem is not his workload. The problem is his mind. In the depths of his despair, Michael seeks an escape. He leaves the sterile confines of his apartment and wanders into a used bookstore in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. It is a cramped, dusty place that smells of paper and time. He is not looking for a self-help book. He is hiding from his inbox. His hand brushes against a spine on a bottom shelf. It is a translation of the letters of Seneca. He pulls it out. He sits on the floor, cross-legged, and opens to a random page. He reads a line that stops his breath. The fates lead the willing and drag the unwilling. It is a sentiment about accepting reality, but as he reads the commentary, a different word catches his eye, a Latin term that the translator emphasizes, Industria. The book explains that to the Roman mind, Industria was not merely industry or business, it was diligence. It was a purposeful activity. It was the refusal to be idle, not for the sake of the product, but for the sake of the character. Michael reads the definition again. Industria. It means to work with intensity and focus on the task at hand, irrespective of the fruit it bears. The Roman statesman did not build a road because he wanted the praise of the traveler. He built the road because it was his duty to build it well. The outcome was irrelevant to the quality of the stone laying. This revelation hits Michael with the force of a physical blow. His entire life has been a negotiation with the future. He has been trying to trade his present effort for a future reward, and because the reward was never guaranteed, his effort was always fragile. He realizes that his relationship with his work has been a war. He has been fighting the process. He has been at war with the uncertainty. He has been treating the work as a toll booth he must pass through to get to the destination. The Romans viewed work differently. Work was the destination. The act of doing was the victory. This is the first principle. You must sever the emotional link between your action and the result. You must adopt Industria. It is a shift from, I am doing this to get that, to I am doing this because this is what I do. Michael sits on the bookstore floor for an hour. The skepticism in his mind fights back. This is idealistic nonsense, he thinks. If I don't care about the result, I will get fired. But he realizes that caring about the result is exactly what is getting him fired. The anxiety of the outcome is preventing the action. The outcome is a distraction. The outcome is a form of vanity. He realizes that he has been trying to play God, controlling the future, while neglecting the only thing he actually owns, the current moment. The world turns upside down. The task is not a barrier to his life. The task is his life. The outcome is none of his business. Michael leaves the bookstore with the volume clutched in his hand. He walks back into the Seattle drizzle, but the cold feels different. It feels real. It feels like something he can handle. He returns to his apartment and sits at his desk. He needs more than just Industria. He needs a way to hold the line when the anxiety returns. He opens the book again and searches for the companion to Industria. He finds it. Constantia. Constantia is translated as perseverance, steadfastness, or stability. It is the psychological fortitude to remain unmoved by the changing winds of fortune. In the Roman military, Constantia was the attribute of the soldier who held the shield wall even when the arrows began to fall. He did not break ranks to chase a fleeing enemy. He did not break ranks to run from danger. He held his position. He maintained his schedule of defense. This is the second principle. You replace the erratic fuel of motivation with the solid wall of scheduled obligation. Michael understands the metaphor. His life is a battlefield of notifications, demands, and chaotic variables. He has been running around the battlefield, chasing outcomes, fleeing stress. He needs to build a shield wall. He needs to create a schedule that is not based on what he feels like doing or what needs to be finished, but on the unshakable duty of the hour. He decides to apply this immediately. He opens his calendar. He deletes the vague blocks of work. He replaces them with specific, non-negotiable obligations. 9 a.m. to 11, code refactor. He writes it down as a sentence. I will sit at this desk and type code for 2 hours. I will not check the result. I will not check the speed. I will simply be a man coding. The test arrives on Thursday morning. It is 9:15 a.m. Michael has successfully navigated 15 minutes of deep work. He is immersed in the logic of the back end. Then his phone buzzes on the desk. It lights up with a notification from a different project. A message from a senior director. Michael, we need to talk about the timeline for the Q4 deliverables. The old Michael would have panicked. The old Michael would have abandoned the code, opened the email, spiraled into anxiety about the outcome of the Q4 deliverables, and spent the rest of the day in a state of frantic negotiation. But Michael looks at the phone. He feels the spike of cortisol. He feels the urge to react. He remembers Constantia. He remembers the shield wall. The schedule says code refactor. The schedule is his duty. The outcome of the Q4 deliverables is a problem for a future Michael. The current Michael has an obligation to the code. He turns the phone over. He places it face down on the desk. He takes a breath. He returns his eyes to the screen. He finds the line of code where he left off. He types. The anxiety does not vanish instantly, but it has no power over his hands. He continues to work. He is not working for the result. He is working because it is his post. He is holding the line. 2 hours later, he looks up. He has written more code in that single block than he wrote in the entire previous week. The refactor is not finished. The outcome is still unknown, but the work is done. The silence in the room is not oppressive anymore. It is peaceful. He has won a small, shocking victory. He has proven that the fear of the outcome does not have to dictate the action. He has replaced the fragile hope of success with the solid rock of obligation. The silence in the apartment that evening is heavy. Michael sits on his sofa, staring at the blank television screen. He feels a strange sensation gnawing at the edges of his accomplishment. It is guilt. The modern mind, conditioned by years of hustle culture, interprets the lack of panic as a lack of ambition. A quiet voice whispers in his ear that he is being lazy. It tells him that by ignoring the immediate demand of his director, he has risked his career. It tells him that outcome independence is just a fancy word for irresponsibility. He feels the tremors of withdrawal. The addiction to anxiety is powerful. He is fighting an internal war between the Roman discipline he has just discovered and the modern urgency that has ruled his life for 2 decades. He needs to know if this is real or if he is simply detaching from reality. He turns to modern science to validate the ancient intuition. He pulls up research on cognitive load and performance anxiety. He finds a study conducted by researchers at Harvard Business School on the psychology of process versus outcome. The study examined professionals in high-stakes environments. The data showed that individuals who focused intensely on the outcome of their tasks experienced a significant degradation in performance. Their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex planning and execution, was being hijacked by the amygdala, the fear center. The brain was so busy simulating potential failures and calculating future rewards that it had no bandwidth left to actually perform the work in the present. The study concluded that detaching from the result, a state the researchers called implementation intention, actually increased the likelihood of a positive outcome. Michael reads the data with relief. The Romans knew this intuitively. They called it a philosophy of life. Science calls it cognitive efficiency. The bridge between the ancient world and the laboratory is clear. When Michael obsessed over the result, he was essentially asking his brain to solve a problem that did not exist yet. He was burning mental fuel on a phantom. By adopting Industria and Constantia, he was effectively clearing the cache of his mental computer. He was giving his brain permission to devote 100% of its resources to the only variable that mattered, the keystroke, the logic, the code. He was not being irresponsible. He was being efficient. The guilt begins to evaporate. He realizes that his anxiety was never a sign of his work ethic. It was a symptom of a malfunctioning operating system. He was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, trying to control the uncontrollable. The science permits him to be human again. It permits him to trust the process. He closes the laptop. He takes a deep breath. He commits to the path. He realizes that the internal war will not end overnight. But now he has the weapons to fight it. He has the shield of Constantia and the sword of Industria. Weeks pass. Michael has integrated the first two principles into his daily routine. He is producing better work. He is calmer, but he senses a deeper layer to the transformation. He returns to his study of Roman thought. He encounters a third, more profound principle known as the view from above. It is a meditation described by the Emperor Marcus Aurelius and the philosopher Seneca. It invites the practitioner to zoom out, to imagine looking down at the world from the cosmos, seeing the Earth as a tiny dot and the individual as a microscopic speck upon that dot. This is not just a productivity hack. This is a confrontation with mortality. The principle teaches that all outcomes are temporary. The code he writes today will be obsolete in 5 years. The promotion he covets will be forgotten the moment he retires. The Romans used this philosophy to strip away the vanity of worldly success. They realized that if the outcome is temporary and the self is a fleeting spark in the universe, the only thing of true value is the integrity of the present action. Duty becomes sacred because it is the only way a finite being can touch the infinite. Michael struggles with this. It feels nihilistic. If nothing matters in the long run, why work at all? He sits with this discomfort for days. He is forced to look at uncomfortable truths. He realizes that his obsession with outcomes was a desperate attempt to build a monument to himself. He wanted the result to prove that he existed, that he was important. The view from above strips that delusion away. It humbles him, it hurts. Then, on a Saturday morning, walking along the Puget Sound, the breakthrough happens. He watches the water move against the shore. The water does not strive to reach the sand. It does not anxiously check its progress. It simply flows. It follows the laws of physics. It does its duty. Michael realizes that he has been trying to swim upstream, fighting the current of time, trying to force the universe to bend to his will. The view from above is not about meaninglessness. It is about alignment. It is about understanding that he is part of a larger whole. His duty is not to conquer the world, but to play his part well. He stops fighting the current. He accepts the limits of his control. He accepts the impermanence of his work. This shifts his identity fundamentally. He is no longer an aspiring architect of the future. He is a craftsman of the present. The anxiety of legacy falls away. He is lighter. The weight of philosophy has crushed his ego, but it has liberated his spirit. He is free to simply be. 6 months later, the transformation is visible. Though it is not dramatic, there are no movie moments. There is just the quiet accumulation of disciplined days. Michael wakes up at 6 a.m. He does not check his phone. He sits for 10 minutes in silence, preparing his mind for the day. He reviews his calendar. The blocks of time are non-negotiable. He does not negotiable with himself. He does not hope for a good day. He schedules his obligation. At work, the change is palpable. His team lead notices that Michael is the calmest person in the room during a crisis. When a server goes down, or a deadline is threatened, The other engineers run around in the state of panic, frantically trying to predict the outcome. Michael applies Constantia. He holds the line. He focuses on the next step. He troubleshoots the problem methodically. He is not paralyzed by the fear of getting fired. He is not energized by the hope of being a hero. He is simply doing his job. His colleagues begin to rely on him. They stop asking, "Do you think we can fix this?" and start asking, "What is the next move?" He becomes an anchor for his team. In his personal life, the changes are even more profound. He used to come home and collapse, too drained to speak to his wife or engage with his hobbies. Now he walks through the door with energy. He has not spent his mental currency on worrying about the future. He has spent it on the work itself. He is present. He cooks dinner without rushing. He reads books without skimming. He no longer needs the validation of the outcome to feel good about his day. The satisfaction comes from the knowledge that he held the line. He did his duty. The contrast between the old Michael and the new Michael is stark. The old Michael was a bundle of nerves, vibrating at a frequency of high anxiety, chasing a horizon that never got closer. He was a victim of fortune, his mood dictated by the Slack notifications on his screen. The new Michael is dangerous in his competence. He is calm, he is steady, he is immutable. He has replaced the chaotic energy of motivation with the structural integrity of a Roman temple. He realizes that the problem was never a lack of time. The problem was never a lack of talent. The problem was a lack of philosophy. He was trying to navigate a complex world with a broken map. Now he has the map. He has the tools. He is no longer a prisoner of the outcome. He is the master of the process. We have traveled a long road together, from the exhausting heights of modern anxiety to the solid ground of Roman discipline. Let us recap the wisdom that pulled Michael, and perhaps you, from the trap. The first principle was Industria. This was the rejection of idle hope and the embrace of purposeful action. It taught you that the result is not your business. The quality of the stone you lay is your business. It severed the link between your effort and the emotional roller coaster of expectation. The second principle was Constantia. This was the shield wall. It taught you that motivation is a fickle friend, but scheduled obligation is a loyal soldier. It gave you the strength to turn the phone over, to ignore the noise, and to hold the line of your schedule in the face of distraction and fear. It replaced the question, "What do I want to happen?" with the command, "What must I do now?" The third principle was the view from above. This was the anchor for the soul. It zoomed out from the petty anxieties of the career and placed your life in the context of the cosmos. It taught you that outcomes are dust, but the integrity of your action is the only thing that remains. It stripped away the vanity and left you with the pure, unadulterated duty of the craftsman. Maybe that is your problem too. You are sitting there reading this, feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders. You are measuring your worth by the distance to your goal. You are exhausted not because of what you are doing, but because of what you are thinking about doing. You are trapped in outcome thinking. You are a gambler at a table where the house always wins because the house is the future and you cannot control the future. You have a choice. You can continue to live in the cage, pacing back and forth between hope and despair, waiting for a result that may never come. Or you can walk out the door right now. You can pick up the tools of the Romans. You can schedule your obligation. You can bind yourself to the duty of the present moment. You can stop looking at the finish line and start looking at the road beneath your feet. The choice is not about working harder. The choice is about thinking differently. The choice is to stop trying to own the future and start inhabiting the present. Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait for a sign. The sign is the breath in your lungs. The motivation is the duty before you. Take up the burden. It is the only thing that will set you free. You do not own time. You do not own the outcome. You only inhabit the moment, and in that habitation you find your power. Go. Build your wall. Lay your stone. The rest is silence.